Okay, in the interest of respecting people's time, I have it as 7:02, so I will call this meeting of the Wakefield Planning Board to order. By order of what I see you on the screen, Kevin York,
Here.
Kristen Weekly.
Here.
Is that Bill Spalding I see? Bill?
Hi, sorry about that.
No worries. And then Theo?
I'm here. Sorry, little connectivity problems.
No worries.
Yeah, same here. Maybe we're on the west side having a little bit of issues. Although,
Not sure, but so all the members of the planning board are here, so thank you for attending. So I'll move on to item number 2, approval of the meeting minutes from the September 9th, 2025 meeting. Did any member of the planning board have any comments related to those meeting minutes? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to accept the meeting minutes as presented?
so moved.
Second.
So moved by Bill, seconded by Kristen. Roll call vote. Kevin?
Yes.
Theo?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
And Bill?
Yes.
And myself, yes, as well. So motion passes. The meeting minutes from September 9th, 2025 are accepted. So then moving to the next thing. So the 154, 158 Salem Street subdivision public hearing. I'll turn it over to Mr. McGrail.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate that. Attorney Brian McGrail here on behalf of the applicant, 154, 158 Salem Street. I think I can be rather quick tonight. We are just, I guess, a pretty brief update for the board where we stand. We are waiting for the town engineer on his final review. He's contacted us today looking for a little bit more information before we can issue that memo. We plan on connecting with him later this week. And then I think you'll see a memo coming from him, perhaps some revisions to our plan set too, because we've also received comments from our neighbors at Nablus Way from their engineer. They were forwarded to me by his attorney. He was kind enough to share those. So we're making some modifications to our plans to try to accommodate their concerns that they gave us after review, and we'll be sending them back to them as well. So I think by your next meeting, you'll see probably another modification set to address what was brought up by our neighbors, and also potentially anything that is brought up by the town engineer later this week.
Okay. Do any members of the planning board have any questions as it relates to the progress that's been made to date? Mr. Knoll.
Sure. Yeah, no, I appreciate the update. That goes a long way to answering sort of all my questions about status. You recently were before the Concom, right?
Yes.
What was the results of that discussion?
Fine. I mean, we made a presentation, updated them as you did, and they're also waiting for the town engineer report.
Okay.
And we'll be back at the zoning board tomorrow night, mainly just to discuss architecture. Probably present them the updates on the site plan where it stands today, but it should probably be mainly an architectural night with them.
Okay.
And then Attorney McGrail, I think directionally, just from a we have an extension through the 31st of December, is my understanding. Is the intent that the next meeting would be to have, I'll say, a final set of back and forth between this board and you before we potentially start moving towards talking about conditions and a potentially a final vote, or directionally, where do you envision the process?
Our hope is when we come back at the next meeting, we'll have a sign off by the town engineer and by our neighbors. And then obviously that your board will be satisfied with the result of that. And then we could start talking about conditions and maybe a draft decision.
Okay.
That will be our goal.
Okay. That's helpful to understand. Any other members of the board have any other questions before I potentially open it to public comment?
And just for clarification, that would be October 14th, right?
So the next 2 regularly scheduled meetings of the planning board are October 14th and then the 28th.
Got it.
So if we were so inclined, we could, and the 14th we tentatively have scheduled for an in-person meeting with or in-person forum rather, or public hearing rather, actually, for the recodification. It's one of the other items that we had talked about previously, but needs to formally be set as part of this course of business.
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So any other questions from members of the board, or otherwise I'll move it over to open it for public comment. Okay, seeing none, in that case, does any member of the public wish to speak? If you do so, please, as a reminder, raise your hand and then turn on your camera if available. And then prior to starting to give public comment, provide your name and your address. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone raising their hand, so I'm gonna give one more opportunity. Otherwise, I will close this public meeting and we can discuss as a board the next course of action. Okay, public comment is closed. So in that case, I think I heard you say, Attorney McGrail, that you would like to have a continuance for this public meeting to our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Correct.
And so from my perspective, our next meeting is the October 14th meeting. So we've talked about the recodification and doing that in person. Other than that, I don't think there's any other items on the course of business that we need to discuss at this point, unless other members of the board have an objection. I think I'd be amenable to having it scheduled at that time.
It would be
Okay.
nice to have a subdivision review in person.
It's like the old days.
Yeah.
The real old days.
Yeah. Okay. So in that case, do I hear a motion to continue this public hearing until the October 14th, 2025 planning board meeting? So moved.
Yeah, and I'll second.
So moved by Kevin, seconded by Theo. Roll call vote. Kristen?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Theo?
Yes.
Kevin? Yes. And myself, yes, as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So that moves us to the next item on the agenda. So this was an item that members of the planning board might not be aware of because it was added to our agenda relatively late based on yesterday at the town council meeting. The town council referred the bylaw recodification bylaw to this board. I sent over the draft amendment that's going to be going into the warrant for your reference. And so now that that's before us, we need to set a public hearing date. So I was going to propose that we would set it for, as mentioned, that October 14th date, as we had discussed with Chair Lieber previously. And I was able to confirm from when it was referred to us to today that the Attorney Bombrowski, or just sorry, the bylaw review committee rather, is available for that in-person meeting. So in that case, do I hear a motion to set the public meeting for the recodification zoning bylaw for the October 14th, 2025 planning board meeting?
Just a quick question. Are we setting the next two meetings or just set it for the 14th and then we'd continue to the 28th if needed?
My understanding is that we can continue it at the meeting on the 14th
Okay.
as soon as it's open.
All right. Okay.
Mr. Spalding.
Yeah, thank you. We just have to make sure, obviously, public notification and all that is taken care of for the 14th, and we have enough time and moving forward to the next meeting. If it is,
Can we do public notification for both meetings at once in one shot?
no, we can't.
Okay.
The ad ready to go, so as long as you guys set the date, the ad will be fired off tomorrow.
Okay.
I figured you did.
Yeah,
And then it doesn't need to be re-advertised for any continued public hearing date, just
Alright.
that first one.
gotcha.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, does that answer your question, Theo?
Thank you.
Okay.
I will make a motion to schedule to set the public hearing on the zoning recodification, on the zoning bylaw recodification for October 14th. At 7:02. Do we need to give it a time?
I would just say 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, okay.
What's the location, the in-person location?
So the in-person location last time was, I apologize, had to miss that one, but wasn't it at the public safety building?
Yeah, we've had it, the public safety building for the MBTA communities. I know we've had also the first floor conference room of town hall. So those are the two. And when we had planning board meetings in person, we would use that first floor meeting room. But honestly, I think the public safety room is a better AV and all that, unless something's changed.
Just as long as one gets picked, that way I can cite it in the legal ad.
I think our preference, as long as it's depending on availability, would be the public safety.
I'm sorry, I just realized I cut off Theo's motion, so I think it's still needs to be carried out, but just wanted to make sure our location was included in that.
Okay, all right, so
So,
the
Motion by Theo to set the public hearing for October 14th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
So motion by Theo, seconded by Kristen, roll call vote. Kevin York,
Yes.
Bill Spalding,
Yes.
Kristen Weekly,
Yes.
Theo Noel.
yes,
Okay, so item number 4, that public hearing has been set. And Marissa, I would suggest that you just connect with Aaron to verify the process, because she was the one who took care of it for us last. Actually, I can't remember if it was her or Sam, but one of the town staff took care of it for us as it relates to booking the public safety building. Okay, so in that case, I'll move on to items not anticipated by the chair. So before I open it up to others, I'll take my prerogative to have a couple house cleaning items. First is that, so we formally have a new town administrator who's starting on October 6th. Marissa, can you remind me? I just forget off the top of my head. I think it's Denise.
Denise Casey.
Thank you. Denise Casey. So we're very excited. So she's asked and I've agreed that she and I are going to connect later in October to have an introductory of where we stand and our ongoing efforts, etc., and seeing how we can support her. So I'll make sure I update the board as it relates to the results of that meeting. Second, the street renaming for Edgewater Place was unanimously passed by town council last night, so that our first street renaming process has been successfully concluded. So big thumbs up and big kudos to Bill, who I know put in some yeoman work trying to get the original zoning passed before the rest of this effort. So thank you.
You're welcome. It was not just me, obviously it goes through all many rounds with the board and all that too, but yes, it it was a lot of digging to find out what exactly we can and can't do and how it would work. And it was really good input from police and fire and town clerk and all that.
Yep. So next thing, and I'm sure members of the board may be aware, but the warrant for town meeting closes on October 3rd. And the town meeting has been set for November 8th at 8 p.m. at the Galvin, for your reference. So I would not be surprised if so right now our next regularly scheduled meeting is the 14th. So I wouldn't be surprised if at that meeting we end up having a couple items that come up for the 28th, and we might need to have a couple special meetings between then and that November 8th date, based on any zoning that comes up between now and the next town council meeting.
Right.
And not that I'm aware of anything, but just to be awareness that there may be something that pops up. So the next thing is I wanted to provide the board an update as it relates to the wetland bylaw that we heard from Concom. So as a reminder for the board, the Conservation Commission came to us to solicit some feedback on an initial draft they had put together. I think in general, we were generally supportive of the concept, but it seemed like that the bylaw needed some additional refinement and work. And furthermore, this is not a zoning amendment, so that does not run through the planning board process from a process perspective, getting it onto the town meeting warrant. So from a formal perspective, there's no additional action that we need to take as a board related to the whole issue or to the whole bylaw proposal. But I did want to make sure members of the board were aware, and so I followed up with Erin Kokinda, just trying to understand where that bylaw was, and she provided she gave me an update that Concom is intending to go to the fall town meeting this year with that bylaw that we reviewed as a board with the Conservation Commission. And in addition, I received a letter that was issued by the DPW Director Joe Conway, Bill Engineer, the town engineer, and then Erin Kokinda, the Planning and Community Development Director, outlining a request from those three parties to the Conservation Commission to defer to the Springtown meeting on the basis of their stance that the Conservation Commission needs to continue to refine that bylaw prior to going to town meeting. So a copy of that letter has been issued to the other members of the planning board, but in case you haven't read it, or for others who are looking at this afterwards, the big picture items that those parties are identifying that they think need refinement prior to that going to town meeting is in absence of the rules and regulations and performance standards, which is referenced in that zoning bylaw, which I think we had talked about, and seemed to be that something that the Conservation Commission is going to be working on, but that still has not been completed. There are some operational impacts to public works that that body had that those three parties had expressed, saying that as written, the bylaw eliminates several exemptions that are currently listed under the state's Wetland Protection Act that would impact DPW operations to perform essential maintenance and infrastructure work. So that's the extent of the comment. So I don't know what specifically we're pointing to. In addition, they said that there was need for additional public input and department coordination. So, and the action that those three parties are advocating for is deferment of the proposed wetlands bylaw to from the fall town meeting to spring to allow for additional refinement. So want to make sure that other members of the board were aware of kind of what's going on as it relates to that, since we came before us previously. And I'm more than happy to take any questions, concerns, or comments from other members of the planning board.
Is there anything that we could do to help?
So the only thing that I think that we could do from a formal perspective is I think we could issue a letter if we so chose to the Conservation Commission that could either echo or support what the other members are if we concur with their conclusions. Which, speaking as Jim Hogan, I think I do have some concerns based on the fact that I think we had a lot of productive conversations with the Conservation Commission, but I didn't think that was a final bylaw by any stretch. But if other members of the planning board disagree, if you feel free to do so.
Yeah, I don't have any disagreement. Sorry, Bill.
Bill?
No, it's hard to, it's not like where to start. It's more like what, maybe to Theo's point too, it's like really trying to figure out where we can help and all. I'm pretty happy with where it stands. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a little bit too much outside of my expertise to really comment deeper. I don't know if others are feeling that way too.
Kristen, I saw you took yourself off mute. Did you was there something that you thought?
I was just blowing my nose.
Oh.
But yeah, no, I mean, I still need to like look through it a little bit more, but I don't have any particular comments on it right now. But I also like wonder what I'm missing because I feel like there's probably things. I don't have a lot of experience with wetlands bylaws other than how they pertain to my own yard and clients' yards.
Um, yeah, I mean, certainly the operational stuff seems really far outside of my awareness, and so I am curious about what those really how those really play out. But yeah, I don't know. Jim, you seem to have some initial observations.
Yeah, my recollection was that when the Conservation Commission came to our board, that we had a substantial amount of conversations around, especially like the absence of rules and regs, which at the time the Concom said, "Oh, we thought about it and we wrote it that way, but we thought about potentially taking the rules and regs and putting it in the bylaw, and we haven't fully decided." And so it is concerning to me from a process perspective of having a bylaw that they had not decided on a fundamental aspect of, are you having rules and regs, or are you including all those rules and regs in your bylaw? And then to turn around and say, we're ready to go. And especially if we're getting something from town engineer, DPW, and planning that are all saying that they don't think it's fully baked, that concerns me. And I'm not sure if it impacts us. And so that's why I'm not sure if other members of the board have a thought of if this is outside of our purview, but they did ask us for our input when it first came up. And we gave it at the time, but it is concerning to me that if there's something that's not ready, is it what's gonna be the unforeseen consequences of passing something that's half baked? Especially, I know that it seems like if all those people who are going to be dealing with it on the day-to-day are saying the same thing. So Bill, I think I saw you raise your hand.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, I'm feeling a little caught only because I didn't do a complete comparison, but I wanted to throw the state bylaw in with the proposed bylaw. I wish I had a capability of a program that could just run them all and trying to find the differences or what overlaps. My concern is that the state bylaw is enough. And I feel that the board's responsibility, and maybe this is an easy way to understand it for our board. We're not rewriting the A&R, the approval not required. It's like, there's no way we're going to get it, or the subdivision, like all that stuff is from the state. What we do is we customize it to get the information that we want, but we also, and when we went through this, whether it was what we're requiring, all that, we're trying to make it easier for those who are applying, or easier for those who were trying to understand it. Yes, they might need a lawyer. Yes, they might need whatever. But I feel like our board's responsibility is to say, okay, contractor, homeowner, whoever, A, B, C, D, this is what we want from you. Please provide this information. And here are, like, I just feel that that's what their board should be doing, and not taking pieces and rewriting and elongating and making it more confusing. So yes, I am a little bothered by the direction it's going in. And I feel like it should be so easy just to say, here are the requirements that we're asking for if you're submitting, and that's it.
Marissa, I see that you raised your hand.
Yeah, I think to sort of piggyback off of that comment, contrary to zoning changes made at the local level, where you as a municipality, you cannot supersede the protections that are already offered by the state. This is the opposite. So the Wetlands Protection Act allows municipalities to place further restrictions on development around wetlands, but I think in doing so in a way that really promotes and protects the again, I'm not a wetland scientist and I have limited experience with conservation, but that promotes and protects the, the wetlands around it so as to preserve, I guess, sort of the ecosystems that are there. And but my first review of these regulations made it seem like it was just really inhibiting a lot of potential development and residential development, and like Jim said, really limiting the scope of what services DPW is allowed to provide in town. And so I did definitely think that it definitely needs further scrutinizing and review. And I don't know if, like when we submit zoning, when we approve zoning bylaws at town meeting, they get further reviewed by the Attorney General. I wonder if these have to get further approved by DEP, but that's why the WPA is in place, and that we have that state Wetlands Protection Act that I think is pretty well thought out. And so if a local conservation commission wants to adopt a set of local wetlands bylaws relative to its unique wetlands that make up its municipality, I think it has to be done so very, very carefully, because you are being given the ability to place tighter restrictions, but you have to, I think you have to do so in a way that isn't unreasonably restrictive.
So, Kevin, I don't think we've heard from you. Do you have any particular thoughts as it relates to this?
So my initial thought was and especially hearing what others said, that we as a board don't necessarily have the knowledge or background to sort of take a side in this, but hearing what Marissa just said and what Bill said prior to that, it sounds like maybe we actually do, in terms of not needing specific knowledge of wetland zoning, but implementation here in town. I don't know. I go back and forth because it doesn't ultimately impact our board directly. Do we want to throw our thoughts into it?
Yeah, I think in general, if our actions are either to take none or to send a letter to the Concom, more or less concurring with what the other letter was sent. So I think, I could definitely see us taking either action. So I just want to make sure that we were able to have that conversation. I know that they're actually having a public hearing as we speak, related to this issue, the Concom. So again, I think both options are somewhat equally valid.
Yeah, I think discretion may be the path of valor here. Like to be honest, I'm not I don't know what we'd say in the letter. So other than, just sort of a general concern about operational impacts and some, perhaps unintended consequences that aren't seen.
Do other members of the board concur with that, and or think that we should just essentially take no action at this time?
Sorry, Jim, I missed that last part. Could you repeat what?
I said, do other members of the board concur with what it seems like Theo says, that discretion is the better part of valor and to take no action?
Yeah, I thought that's what you said. It's hard not to, but I fall back. It's like I don't know what type of advice to give, except we have something in place. And I really appreciate Marissa's comment on understanding the difference of that the restrictions could really impact future development. Man, it's difficult as it is, especially if a homeowner is trying to manage through this or new businesses coming into town. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel stuck. honestly. Like, it's like I want to, but I read through so much. I'm just like, I can't make heads or tails of what this should be. So I think, yeah, to go along with Theo's thoughts, yeah.
I
So
will say
To
that
give you
sorry,
an
one more
example, oh,
comment. Sorry, Marissa. It would be different if we could read a report from either the DPW or engineering or someplace else. It's like, here's their comments. I feel like then we could be more productive in our thoughts to provide feedback based on that.
I
Yeah.
do agree that things should be written in such a way where a normal person should be able to read them and then be like, okay, this is what needs to be done. Or this is what I have to do. And and this is, and ideally, this is why this is in place. And I just feel like there's really not a lot. Like, I think most bylaws are a little too, like, most normal people can't read them and understand them. Sometimes you go in and actually meet with the department. I had a conservation issue in Reading last year, and I'm a pretty smart person with a lot of real estate experience. And I met with conservation multiple times. My client met with conservation multiple times, and the attorney talked to them. And it was still like, we still were confused. We left with more confusion than we came in with about what was required. So,
to give you an example, and this was, I don't know if this regulation has since been changed since a further review of the Conservation Commission, but there's this area called the buffer zone, which is a 100-foot radius that surrounds the wetland, and that's the radius that is subject to the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. So if you're looking to do work within that buffer zone, you are required to present that work to the Conservation Commission, and that could be as easy as like adding a deck or an addition onto your house. So the local Conservation Commission, I believe, wants to expand that buffer zone. I forget by how many feet, but possibly another 50 feet. And I think it's pretty easy to sort of gauge a 100-foot radius. If you have like pretty obvious wetlands in your backyard, I think it's easy enough to understand where that delineation is, and then you could safely say, all right, well, this is the extent of my addition. But if you expand that buffer zone, it creates it creates sort of like a gray line. Like, you have to get a surveyor out there and delineate that wetland, because you might not actually be sure if that 200-foot radius is where it falls in relation to the wetlands that may or may not be on your property or behind your property. And then if you do have to go before the Conservation Commission, that's a whole nother set of plans and time just to be able to do maybe a simple addition on your home. It typically requires hiring a wetlands engineer, having them go out there, like I said, delineate, survey your property, drawing up a set of plans that are specific to the Conservation Commission, preparing that notice of intent, and doing that on top of any zoning board relief or planning board review that might be required. So it does seem a little cumbersome, and a little, it puts more work on the property owner, I think, unfairly.
Mr. Spalding.
Yeah, one more thought. I mean, it's all in the taxonomy of how it's written, and I think we've all touched on this a little bit, but I remember a planning board meeting back maybe about 8 or 9 years ago where we spent like a full meeting trying to define what a bank is, like a bank, like what that means. And there's just so much involved with that terminology, and to convolute that more would be so difficult, I think, for our board when we're trying to help a homeowner or a business owner trying to find their way through. And I know attorneys do a great job at helping to navigate and making sure they're using the right words and all that. But just a simple word on a plan could really cause a delay that, yeah, it's sometimes heartbreaking. So again, I don't know where we can help as a board, but I feel with more comments coming back in, yeah, I feel like we need to punt right now.
The only thing that I think that we could do realistically, because I don't think we're gonna go through and say point by point, these are all the different critiques. The only thing I think we could do is we could write a letter that would say something to the following. Following up on our July 8th meeting with you, we understand that that bylaw that was reviewed at that time is intending to go forward as it relates to fall town meeting. It's come to our attention that the DPW, the town engineer, and planning departments don't believe that the bylaw has advanced sufficiently past the comments that we expressed in our meeting have been sufficiently addressed, and are recommending it get delayed until the spring, if in order to accommodate further refinement. We would strongly recommend heeding the advice of those departments, and would request your board send us a copy of it prior to it going to town meeting. Something to that effect, right? Where we're being agnostic on the actual content, but we're basically just saying it's come to our attention that some of the players are going to be impacted by this in the day-to-day are concerned, and so that makes us concerned because of the potential impact on homeowners on a go-forward basis. That's about as far as I would be willing and comfortable to send. And again, that's where I think that's where discretion may be the better part of valor. But if we do want to take some sort of action, I don't see us doing anything more than that.
Mhm.
I like that approach.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's helpful. I did have sort of more of a procedural question of how does the comment from the town departments get included into the record of town meeting? I mean, someone has to ask a question, right? And they're certainly going to be invited to give their recommendation, right? Or is that maybe not?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that town staff, I've been made to understand that I believe Bill, our town engineer, will be speaking at town meeting on this matter. I don't know that a question has to be called, but nonetheless, I believe he does plan to speak. So, and then I would assume that if he's at I believe he's also at the Conservation Commission meeting right now, so I can only assume that record of his comments will be recorded in the minutes. Maybe the letter will get attached to the minutes as well, and posted online.
Okay.
So I think we've gone around a bunch. I do want to be respectful of folks' time. Do people have a strong feeling one way or the other of what we should do between either issuing a letter or taking no action? Bill?
I prefer the letter and some voice or action from our board if we're all in agreement that similar to what you suggested, where we feel that more work needs to go into this and we are concerned about ABC, and to focus on the concern of the process or any hardships that we're creating.
I would agree with that.
And
Kevin, where do
sorry,
you
Jim, just to add in there too, I think we need to be careful about the words. Different words could trigger different, like, I know hardship is one of those words that on a building application, permit application and all that, that's definitely, and you probably know this too, it's one of those words that do carry a lot of pull. And I feel like that's one of those words I would like to see in there, that we don't want to add any additional hardships to landowners, homeowners, however we want to address it.
I think that makes sense. Kevin, what are your general thoughts?
Going back, extending off of a question Theo had, this wouldn't be something where at town meeting, planning board is asked for its thoughts, right?
No, not formally.
Yeah, I think the letter makes sense.
Just to back up Kevin's, we have been asked to speak when we're not part of the review or approval process. So it might come up in conversation. Somebody might get up to the microphone and say, I would like to hear from the planning board. Could the planning board, a representative from the planning board, share their thoughts on this? That has happened in the past.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
Theo, do you have any thoughts? It sounds like I think Kevin, Bill, and Kristen have expressed interest in issuing a letter.
Yeah, I would concur. I think that makes good sense.
Okay.
So the points raised.
Okay. In that case, yeah, I'm more than happy to put a draft, but I'd like if it is me, but I'd like regardless, whoever drafts it, I'd like someone else to review it before we issue anything. Just to get a gut check. So I'm more than happy to be on either side of that process if anyone else is willing to raise their hand to be part.
I'm raising my hand for two reasons. One, because I'm looking through my folder of previous letters that we've sent and drafted, and I do feel like we have I mean, to me, this is going to be short and sweet. My
Yeah.
question is, who is this going to?
I think it's got to go to the Conservation Commission, right?
Okay.
You
And
can CC Bill, CC Aaron.
yes, I think that's a good discussion to have right now to make sure that the letter's drafted as I do a save as from one of our latest.
I would advocate that we would send it to the Conservation Commission with a CC to Joe Conway, Bill Renault, and Eric Kokinda and Marissa.
Okay.
And the conservation agent, Ethan Fleming.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Just because the three of them issued that letter that I received and triggered this discussion, and then Marissa as our representative to the town staff, and the conservation agent is a good call as well.
Okay.
So I think Bill, did you say that you want to take the first pass and then I'll edit it, and then if members of the board are in concurrence, I'll issue it on behalf of the board.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And then I think, do we need to take a vote on that to formalize that?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments on this before I move on to the next item not anticipated by the chair? Okay. Next one I've got is Town Day. So we got some additional information. Theo, I forwarded over to you because as I understand it, you're going to be the one who's going to be taking the lead as it relates to the Town Day.
Mhm.
So we are going to be getting a 12-foot by 12-foot space on the common. So I think, and that is September 27th. So in a couple days.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Surprise.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure. I know in the past, I think we've done like maps or like
Yeah.
displays. But I wanted to provide a forum for us to coordinate what we wanted to see as a board or work towards as a board for that
Mhm.
calendar.
Yeah, I can tell you, I've done a very simple 8.5 by 14 sheet of what is the planning board, something similar for what is Concom. And then I put together just a quick little set of quote unquote news flashes, just highlighting some of the accomplishments. That the zoning recodification is underway, that the wetlands bylaw is out there, that we've got a housing production plan, that ADU is going through some administrative review, and then we'll be final. So I'm ready to bring all that, and Kevin provided some really good proofing of those documents. I also got some edits from Eleanor Axelrod from the Conservation Commission. So I think all of that is sort of straightforward and set. Kasumi from the zoning board is bringing materials for the ZBA, and she'll share the table with us. So and I'm, you know, we've got the big map that we thought we'd bring to the town as well. Kasumi's also bringing zoning maps to highlight stuff. So I think we're prepared to be friendly and welcoming and have some good discussions about sort of what's going on and what's happening at the zoning board. We can talk a little bit about what's in the housing production plan, things like that.
Theo, did I hear you say that you have the material that you think is helpful to support that, or do you think that there's other material that we need to go develop?
No, I think I've got it all. I think I'm ready to go. So yeah, happy to circulate it to everyone if you'd like to see and give it a final opine. So, but I really think we're good to go. I don't know, and Kevin, I really appreciate all of your edits. They were really helpful this weekend.
Sure, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else on about Town Day?
No. Well,
Just-
we'll have some candy. So
Mr. Spalding.
There's we were asked by Erin in the DPW to through Safe Streets. If you don't know, I'm part of the Safe Streets group, working group, and we're gonna have a bike valet as well.
cool.
Unfortunately, I won't be available. There's another band competition for the Wakefield High School band, and I'm part of the pit crew. It's been a lifelong goal of mine to be part of pit crew. No, I'm not trying to. I mean, it's a wonderful experience, but they're on in Melrose on Saturday, so I'll be there. Or between that and another game, but I will not be available. But if there's anything that Theo you think I can help with to share, I do have again a whole folder full of plans and different things, and I could print some at work if needed. So let me know.
Okay. All right. It's almost a little bit of less is more sometimes. Like that way you're just not sort of stumbling over a lot of paper. But we've got you know, we'll have the big map, I'll have a foam board, I've got 2 easels. So yeah.
And candy, you said that's good.
And candy. Yep. And I won't eat it all. So some nut free, some nut full. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, that sounds great. Thank you guys for taking the lead on that and getting a good spot. Do I have any other items not anticipated by the chair?
I've sort of 2 things. One, regarding the Wakefield Housing Trust. I was asked if I could take one of the town member seats on the board because they've got other folks exiting. So so I'd like to do that, and I wanted to bring that to the planning board just to let y'all know this is not meant to. And Kevin would continue to represent the planning board. I did get email confirmation from Tom Mullen that would not create an open meeting law conflict. So, but I don't know, you know, wanted to bring that back to y'all first.
I mean, I don't see any reason why that'd be a bad thing.
Okay. All right.
Unless others disagree, but I feel like that you're interested and able and willing, which are all key components of being a representative for that board.
All right. My only other sort of academic question is, at some future point when things are quiet, I'd love to get a little more education on how to read stormwater drainage analysis and sort of what all that means. So,
You mean like as a general comment from others?
yeah, from others. I mean, even maybe one of the town engineers giving a 20-minute sort of this is what to expect. This is what we're looking for. So some way to appreciate, I think, the technical aspects of it. And maybe also more from a because we're worried about drainage. We're worried about where the water goes, and those implications. So that would kind of be helpful to get a little more orientation. But I can also spend a lot more time myself.
I feel for you, Theo, on that one. It's difficult. I know part of our master plan group, there was a few engineers in there that specialize in soil and water and all that. So it's, part of it is just having a glossary / dictionary on what all the abbreviations and terms mean, and not just what the acronym is, but what and how it's connected to the rest of the system. And I think it would be almost impossible for us to understand the different types of control and containers and all that. But I think a really good focus would be, what should we be looking for in plans to ask more questions about? And what should we be able to, through a site walk, be able to notice right away that is causing possible issues or not following proper rules and regs. So I think if we were going to do that, I would love to have it more focused on what should we look for in plans and what should we look for on the site.
And are you thinking that would be something that we'd want to do via a meeting or like a time with Bill Renault?
That might be the best place. I don't want to speak for Leo, but I think that might be the best place to go. I mean, it might be worth also reaching out to Attorney McGrail and say, hey, we know the 3 or 4 people that come in here all the time. Do you think it's worth having one of your who you think might be the best engineer to explain it in terms that we can then use to help understand it, but also help to explain to the public.
Yeah.
But I think Bill Renault is a good first place.
Yeah.
Start.
Yeah. Tell you what, I'll start and just ask him for some places to go. And I can share that.
I'd be careful with that question. Sorry.
Yeah. And I could bring that back. So.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else have any other items not anticipated by the chair?
No.
No. In that case, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, motion by Kristen, seconded by Theo. Kevin?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Theo?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Yes. So thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
All right. Good to see everybody.